Okay, I think we're going to go ahead and get started here. Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Pitch of Dreams, Building a Major League Soccer Franchise and Why Mentoring Matters. Before we get started, I want to thank our sponsors, P&G Ventures, Kroger, First Financial, North American Properties, Vora Ventures, Taft, and KMK. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, please use the Q&A tool at the bottom of your screen to ask your questions. A recorded version of today's webinar will be provided a few days after this event. A survey will be provided after this event as well. Please continue to fill that out on your way out. Thank you all so much for attending. I'm so excited for you all to hear from Jeff Birding, President at FC Cincinnati. Jeff, I will hand it off to you to get us started.
Thank you and good afternoon. Good to be with everyone. I'm excited to be a part of this tremendous program from Centrifuge. Not only am I presenting today, but I'm also a mentor with one of our teams. So this is a tremendous program. I'll try to offer an insightful presentation this afternoon and certainly welcome any questions. If you have questions and you want to use the chat function, we'll get the questions introduced, okay? So I'm going to talk a little bit about FC Cincinnati. I started working on FC Cincinnati in 2014. I had been at the Cincinnati Bengals almost 20 years, and I had 3 children, all of whom loved soccer. They loved soccer the way my father, their grandfather, liked baseball, and I liked football. And so the problem I tried to solve is what would it take to bring a third major league sports franchise to Cincinnati? And would it be possible to bring a major league soccer franchise to my hometown, to the Queen City? So I'm going to talk today about what it took, the journey we've been on to build a major league soccer franchise. And I'm going to close with a brief conversation about why mentoring matters. So we're going to start with a poll question. And we're going to do a couple of these poll questions through the presentation, okay? So Zaina, can we do up the first one? There you go. Have you ever been to an FC Cincinnati game? Very simple, yes or no. Everyone can click on. So we started playing in 2016. Obviously this year, very disturbed, interrupted by COVID. So great, a big part of the group. Looks like you've attended a game. And for those who haven't, we're gonna give you an opportunity to come down the road. Okay, so we'll close that off. All right, so here's a little video. So that was the pathway. That was the journey we went on from 2016 until we were introduced as a Major League Soccer franchise in 2018. So the model for success, when I first sat down to solve this problem of what would it take to bring a third Major League franchise, a Major League Soccer franchise to Cincinnati, I literally wrote down the 5 key ingredients on this legal pad I was working on. Number 1, strong local ownership, top level corporate, Cincinnati, civic minded, leadership patient to invest and grow the franchise. That's probably pretty similar to most startups. Number 2, a professional caliber venue. You need a professional place to play, right? This isn't youth soccer. It's not amateur soccer. It's professional. Number 3, experienced sports management. A staff that maybe doesn't have the background in soccer per se, but certainly knew the business of professional sports. Number 4, top quality soccer. It had to pass the eye test. It had to be better than kids running around following the ball like a swarm of bees. It wasn't the English Premier League or the Bundesliga, but it had to be quality. And then the last one, maybe the most important, was to create a relevant brand, a relevant sports brand in the market. And I defined relevant as being achieved with 3 key values: to be a winning team, a family-friendly club, and a franchise that was visible and giving back in the community. So again, here's the 3 core values that we launched FC Cincinnati: winning, family-friendly, and visible in the community. When we were signing players, the players had to be about all 3 of those values. And where we missed on those values, we worked to quickly get rid of those players. And as we hired the front office people and wrote the business plans in each department, had to be aligned with those values, and that is still true today. So here's our ownership group. Carl Linders, my partner, he called me one day in January of 15, said, "I understand you're trying to bring professional soccer to Cincinnati. Would you be interested in letting me be your majority owner, your primary investor?" 5 months later, we were up in New York City meeting with Major League Soccer, presented our plan. They said, "If you can execute this plan, there's a pathway for you into our league, Major League Soccer." But we had to audition in the lower leagues, in the lower level, minor league soccer. Carl and I went to dinner that night. He said, "Okay, Jeff, I'm all in. My family's all in, but you got to be all in. You got to leave the Bengals and run the team. This only happens if you run it. You're the one with the vision, the experience. You have to run the team." We shook hands, and we've been at it ever since. This past year, we had Meg Whitman, probably the most successful women business owner in the country, formerly of Hewlett Packard and eBay, currently at Quibi. And then Scott Farmer, who's the CEO of Cintas, and his family. And then we have about 10 other ownership groups from local business leaders. Our club history, our first match, April of 2016, we had over 14,000 fans. It was the largest inaugural crowd. The largest crowd in the league was 11,000 in Sacramento. We surpassed it our first game, and that's been the smallest attendance we've had since. We drew 35,000 at the time, the largest soccer match in Ohio, when we played Crystal Palace just 4 years ago. 30,000 for the first playoff game, and then continued in our Open Cup run, which is an in-season tournament. Imagine March Madness with the number 16 seed versus the 1 seed, and that's taken place on a week-to-week basis during your regular season. And we advanced further than any minor league team had done in over a decade when we made it to the semifinal. We brought Mercy Health on board as our jersey sponsor as a part of our MLS bid. And that was a big part of our winning the bid, which we were introduced in May of 2018. By September, we had broken the record for a regular season match, 31,000. We were the regular season champs, were awarded our first trophy, and then won in the playoffs in 2018. Broke ground in our stadium that year, and were introduced as an MLS team, first with jerseys, then with our first matches. And ultimately our first match a little over a year ago now, 33,000 fans, sold out Nippert Stadium with a great win against the Portland Timbers. Jesse March, the well-regarded coach of the New York Red Bulls, said after the Open Cup semifinal of Cincinnati at that time, in our only second year of existence, it's the best American soccer crowd he'd ever seen. and really gave tribute to the city and the soccer culture that we organically were building here in town. Just to give you a sense of how quickly this went, you can see most of these teams, as they've gone through expansion, have had 2 years, some 3 years. We had less than 1 year. Last new expansion teams are all being delayed a year to give them 2, 3, and in some cases 4 years. And we pulled it off in record time. And to be fair, it probably wasn't enough time. Just if you don't know that much about soccer, a big part of this is it's the global sport. There's more people playing soccer on this planet than every other sport combined. So when we're trying to sell Cincinnati to the world for international headquarters, North American offices, right? Global talent for our universities, for our startup community. Hey, you don't have to go to California, Boston, New York. You can come to Cincinnati. Having a recognized global city is important. And this is a sport that puts us on the map. So you can see when MLS matches are broadcast, they're being broadcast, our new stadium, 170 countries across the globe. MLS fans, you can see younger, more diverse, more affluent, digitally native, and loyal. The way we look at it is, my dad grew up on baseball. That's the sport of radio. I grew up on football. That's the sport of television. Soccer is the sport of the internet. Soccer is the sport of social media. That's certainly a recognition of the younger demographic that is interested in soccer. Again, the one sport that connects you to the rest of the globe. Comparing MLS to some of the other leagues, you can see, again, much younger. This is the average age. Baseball, much older. Football, older by a decade. And we think that that is a great growth opportunity for our owners and our city. So now a little bit about West End Stadium. Maybe we want to do another poll question here as I start to pivot to the new stadium. So before you see the stadium, because I know when we do the next question will be after I've shown you the stadium, how interested are you in coming to a game at West End Stadium next spring? Not at all. Somewhat interested, very interested. If everyone can vote. All right, not too many not at alls. We got a lot of somewhat, and thank you, very. So great, okay. So I'm going to talk to you. The new stadium was always something that Carl Lindner and I understood from that first meeting in New York City with MLS, that we would be required to build a new soccer-specific stadium. We called our first 3 years of existence our audition phase. You win the audition, you're in Major League Soccer. And in order to win an expansion bid, we were going to have to build a new stadium. We looked at sites in Oakley, Newport, right across the river from the Reds ballpark, in the West End. We always thought the West End was the best site, also the most challenging, the most expensive. And we're fortunate with a lot of support that we've pulled that off. And the stadium is 95% bid, which means we have a pretty good handle on the budget. It's the largest soccer-specific stadium in the United States, and it'll open next spring. So you can see the site is just adjacent to Over the Rhine, the host area of our startup community, with Union Hall, with the Brandery and Centrifuge, Cincy Tech and other institutions. Obviously, almost $1 billion invested in Over the Rhine to restore Music Hall, the Washington Park, and a lot of the businesses. Very close. Our stadium, you enter at 15th Street, and the heart of downtown Fountain Square is at 5th Street. So just 10 blocks north of the heart of the downtown business district. You can see a lot of bars and restaurants, a lot of Cincinnati's brewing attractions very near our stadium. And of course, Music Hall, Washington Park, where a lot of our supporters will gather to march in. And of course, the streetcar line lets out just 2 blocks from the stadium. So for people maybe parking either up by Finley Market or down on the banks, the opportunity to ride the streetcar up to our stadium.
FC Cincinnati says there will be a significant announcement on Tuesday about the future of soccer in the city. That's the same.
All right, so a little about the stadium. So you can see here some pictures. 26,000 seats, roof covering all the seats. Grand staircase similar to the Spanish Steps or the steps at the New York Library, adjacent to Central Parkway. You can see that the vertical fins, which allow a view into the stadium, also have LED lighting that will light up and can be quite an attraction. I'm going to show you a little bit of a video on that. The only stadium in the world that has this LED lighting. So our owners spent extra millions more in order to have that effect. Again, the only stadium in the world. We're in conversations with U.S. Soccer about World Cup qualifiers, Gold Cup, all kinds of international friendlies for the U.S. men, U.S. women. Again, putting Cincinnati on the international stage. Here's a view from the inside. You can see here in the north end zone, the widest scoreboard in a soccer stadium in the US or Canada. This is right below the scoreboard is the Bailey. That's our supporter section. The drums, the songs, the smoke, the chant, the tifos. Here you can see suites. We have 55 suites, more than double the league average and a third more than LAFC. 4,500 club seats. Again, more than double the league average and over 1,000 more than the next closest stadium. Why is that? Because we want to have a championship team. We want to bring championships to Cincinnati. In order to win championships, you need good players. Good players tend to cost more. And in soccer, you have to generate your own revenue through season ticket holders, sponsorships, suite holders, club seat holders, and the like. But you can see beautiful stadium, and you can see how the roof covers all the way to the first row of the stadium. And here's a view from the south looking to the north, again with the suites and club seats on the left, and all the seats. Just to give you a sense, you think of, if you've been to the match, some of you said you've been to games at Nippert, these suites here would be akin to the concourse level at Nippert Stadium. So you can see a lot of great seats, very low and close to the field. Here's a view from the west looking east. Here you can see that we do have another scoreboard in the southeast corner so that the fans here in the Bailey don't have to turn around and look back. Here's the night shot. We think this is a tremendous shot. You can see, imagine a blimp overhead when we're playing on nationally televised matches on a Saturday night or Sunday night with the skyline lit up, and it's really going to look tremendous. So here's a little bit about the stadium. If you're interested in data, cost over $250 million. You can see the canopy roof, 360 degrees on 12.5 acres, 26,000 seats. I've already mentioned the suites and the club seats, the LED lights, the length of the fins, those vertical fins, 5.4 miles. And again, we're real excited. 15 feet is the closest seat to the field, and 5 yards, imagine on a football field, and the furthest away, only 130 feet. So I'll stop there for a second to see if there's any questions. Then I'm going to talk about our training center, and then I'll wrap up. But let me just pause there for a moment.
You have one quick question. You actually have two quick questions. The first one is, when it comes to building a brand from the ground up, what methods or avenues are best to achieve a good marketing strategy to get it somewhere like where FC Cincinnati is at today?
Great question. So I had spent, as I noted, over 19 years at the Cincinnati Bengals, where I was responsible for sales, ticket sales, suite sales, things of that nature, but also a lot of our non-football PR. And the Bengals didn't pay a lot of attention to brand, didn't pay a lot of attention to marketing or advertising. And so sometimes you learn from good experiences, and sometimes you learn from challenges. I had previously read Malcolm Gladwell's book, The Tipping Point, and I reread it when I was thinking of how we would create FC Cincinnati. And literally, we wrote our marketing plan based on that book, The Tipping Point. So you start with influencers, and we identified our most important, our early influencers, to be three groups. One was youth soccer parents. I was pretty connected in the youth soccer community as the president of one of the youth clubs where my children played. I felt that those youth soccer parents who come to games with their kids to watch their kids play would bring their kids if it was family friendly and in quality, ultimately winning soccer. Number two was the people that were going to bars on weekends to watch the English Premier League, high passion soccer fans. So Carl Linder and I went to these bars where they would be on Saturdays and Sunday mornings and bought beer and talked soccer and invited them to create the Bailey because we felt that was something unique that no stadium here in Cincinnati really had. Again, with the drums and the smoke and the songs and the chants. And then number three was the business community. Again, to promote Cincinnati on a global stage, getting into the global game of soccer. Of course, Carl Linder and Scott Farmer have a lot of credibility and support in the business community. And we felt that that this was something that they would get behind. And they did. And the word of mouth was incredible. Just to give you a sense, the league average attendance our first year was under 4,000 per game. And in our first year, we averaged 17,000 a game. We had the fewest ticket sales reps of any team in the league, even though we were more than 4 times the league average attendance. How is that? Because word of mouth. People were selling the tickets for us. Then they were going online and buying the tickets easily. And then coming to the game and walking out going, I'm not a soccer fan, but I had a great time, and telling people at work and telling people on soccer sidelines and telling people at bars and restaurants, you have to go to the games. We put all of our games on TV, even though it cost us money. When I was at the Bengals, I think the Bengals got $200 million a year in TV revenue. We spent money to put our games on TV, but we figured that that was the best advertisement that we could do. We put our games on TV, and I told the TV producer, show people in the stands having fun, show parents with their kids, showing young people really getting into it. We want people to see that this is a place to have fun. And that if you're and then we invited people, this was an important part, the organic growth. Our slogan was Rise Together, because we were trying to get into Major League Soccer, and we were inviting people to help us get into Major League Soccer. How could they do that? By coming to our games, to help us break all these attendance records. And so in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right, the highest is to be a part of something bigger than yourself, to actually actualize self-actualization of this higher purpose for my being here, to do something that's great for my community and feel good about it. And so we were inviting people to have that opportunity by helping us get to MLS. And they didn't have to work. All they had to do is come to our games and have fun at a very friendly, family-friendly, affordable price. And so it just kept building and building and building to the part that we tipped. We thought we would tip in year 2. We tipped in year 1. We went from 17,000 average to 21,000 our second year to almost 26,000 our third year. Last year, almost 28,000 in our fourth year. We thought we would sell 600,000 in merchandise our first year. We sold 1.6 million. Just to give you a sense, that's more than any Major League Soccer team that year. We sold more merchandise than any soccer team in the United States in our first year as a startup, as a minor league startup. So, a lot of that, the colors we picked based on the psychology of colors. I had a Procter & Gamble person helping me, blue and orange, what the psychology of blue, confidence, trust, the most popular primary color, orange, a very popular accent color. There's a positive energy associated with orange and enthusiasm. And then we looked at all the different sports teams, blue and orange, and they sell a lot of merchandise. So we knew that that would be popular. And that was important because when people saw others wearing FC Cincinnati merchandise, it's a commercial, it's an invitation, it's an endorsement. So our merchandise strategy was a big part of our marketing plan. I hope that gave you a little insight.
Yeah, that was great. We have a few more questions, but we can answer one more and then come back to the other two after your next little segment. But the next question was, since soccer is watched a lot more often by younger generations, was it an important aspect to overall development of the club to establish FC Cincinnati Youth Academy?
Yes. So both on the growth side as well as on the soccer side. So number one, we want to give, again, go back to we want to be winning, family friendly, and visible, and giving back to the community, giving young players in Cincinnati to dream of playing for their hometown team someday. We started with Austin Berry and Luke Spencer from Cincinnati. We currently have Nick Haglin from Cincinnati. And we have our academy, and it shows that young people can dream of playing for our academy and ultimately have a professional pathway. But it's also a part of giving back and strengthening the youth soccer space. So even if you don't someday play for FC Cincinnati, maybe our academy or our affiliation program helped Cincinnati United or Kings Hammer or Colping or Cincinnati Elite become better clubs. Maybe more kids have opportunities for scholarships. And so the academy then becomes an important pathway there as well. Finally, I just want to note, our first year, we were the named sponsor of the Cincinnati Development Academy, which was the women's academy for young women, the best young women players, over 100,000 in order to support the young women. And we are in conversations and have every expectation that we will have a professional women's team, and we will have a women's academy, a young women's academy as well. So this is not about men's soccer, it's about soccer and developing our Cincinnati, our city around this sport.
Okay, we still have quite a few questions left, but if you want, you can keep going.
I'll power through the rest of this, and we'll get to the questions, okay?
Yeah, sounds good.
I'm just going to point out this is a little bit about professional facilities also for the academy as our training center. So this year we opened the Mercy Health Training Center. It's in Milford, just inside 275, about a 20-minute ride from downtown. And so you can just see a little bit of pictures here. Over $30 million, again, all privately financed. So you can see 24 acres. It's a 30,000 square foot building, includes a kitchen. We have a great partner with Mercy Health. And as the commissioner said when he was here for the grand opening, it sets a new standard for MLS clubs. So we don't want to be second best in anything. We want to be the best. We think we're quite confident we have the best training facility. I toured training facilities in Europe as well as in Major League Soccer. And we feel we have a great opportunity to develop players, winning players here. And again, we have the opportunity to expand it on the women's side. So here, as we look to close, FC Cincinnati has given Cincinnatians a reason to dream, outshining the older, more established pro franchises in town, galvanized the community hungry for a winner, beating Major League Soccer teams and attracting overflow crowds. Aggressive soccer, a great family event. They're winning at the gate. They're certainly winning with the fans. We're now the gold standard for Cincinnati sports pride. They seem to embody the movement of revitalization, seeding the urban core of the city. I share this because this is exactly what we aim to do when we launched our club. I'm a season ticket holder for the Reds and Bengals. Club seats, I'll always be supportive of both those franchises. I grew up on both of them, but we want to be number one. And we hope that in our efforts to be number one, we inspire them to work harder and do better and bring championships to our city. So I'm going to end on this, why mentoring matters. I grew up on the West Side, one of 10 kids, one of only 2 to graduate from college. And this is very important to me because I wouldn't be where I am today without incredible teachers, coaches, and mentors. So my notes here, no one achieves their dreams on their own. Think of all our teachers, coaches, family members, and friends who have taught and supported us in our development. Mentors may, this is an important point. Mentors may subconsciously mentor people from similar backgrounds, consistent with the people that mentored them. A lot of the people that mentored me were white men, and it would be very easy for me to want to pay that forward. Also thinking of people who were similar to me, because I could see myself in them. And I'm challenging here to repay your debts to your mentors by paying it forward to young people seeking their own dreams. Someday you will be successful. And when you are, seek out opportunities to pay it forward and help young people achieve their dreams. That's why I'm doing this with you today and supporting this program. But if we believe in equal opportunity, we got to go out of our way and get out of our comfort zone and mentor young people from different backgrounds as well, especially helping women and people of color who frequently are not invited or given the same level of support as white men. Just saying it the way it is. It's easier for us who are white guys. And we have to make sure that we reach out and try to lift a hand up and support people who maybe don't look like us, maybe they're from different backgrounds, but they have dreams, they have talent, they're working hard, and we have to make sure that we're giving opportunity because in doing so, we can make our world a better place. I have this note, we all make mistakes, but mentors can help us avoid life-altering errors and ensure that we learn from those failures. In our culture here at FC Cincinnati, we say making mistakes is perfectly okay. We want to make sure that they're not life-altering, they're not franchise-killing mistakes, but making mistakes, failing is okay. We just don't want to keep repeating mistakes. If you keep repeating mistakes, that's a problem. But otherwise, use good judgment, talk to your department heads, and learn. Take initiative, ask for help and support, impress with your work and your commitment. You know, before you leave at the end of the day, ask your supervisor, are you done for the day? Is there anything you need that I can help with here, right? Be one of the first in, be one of the last to leave, and ask for help if you're not sure. And then just always keep in mind, every person we meet could someday be an important resource. So always try to make a good impression, always be kind to everyone, because you just never know where someday you have an opportunity and you're like, maybe this person could help me with an introductory email. And so having the opportunity to have made a good impression, that's not a big lift to make an introductory email. So maybe you're not calling on someone cold. And so I just want to encourage all of you as you start your careers to seek out mentors, always with an eye to paying it back as you get older and achieve success in your life. Okay, so that is my presentation, and I think we still have some time for more questions.
Yes, we have quite a few questions. I can read them out loud to you. The next one is, how has COVID with big events being shut down affected the growth of FC Cincinnati?
Well, it's been enormously challenging, to say the least. We were the first to shut down. We'll be the last back in returning to normal, which would be full stadiums, those pictures you saw in some of those videos. And we're continuing through the support of our owners. I mean, we literally have no revenue. 90% of our revenue is attached to home matches with people in the stands. And right now we're playing in the competition in Florida, which gives us an ability to give back, if you will, less money, right? Refunding less money from some of our sponsors like Mercy Health on the jersey. But otherwise, it's an enormously difficult time. We were not eligible for any of the PPP or federal aid. We've not laid off or furloughed any of our staff because of COVID. So we're viewing this as a legacy commitment that we're selling for next year and beyond. We're building for next year and beyond. And in that regard, we want all of our staff to continue their contributions to our growth. But we will lose tens plus millions of dollars this year. And when you're running a business, you're not thinking about running a business to lose 10 million or more dollars. So certainly real challenge, but you know, a once in 100-year pandemic. And the biggest focus is on our staff. We've been very fortunate. None of our staff have had COVID. None of our players have had COVID. And so we've tried to really focus on letting people work from home. I'm here at the office, but most of our staff continue to work from home, keeping people safe, keeping people connected to our club, and focus on next year, 2021, when we open that stadium.
There's one question here in the chat that says, is there a plan to build the city's infrastructure and hotels to accommodate international games?
We are an active member of the Chamber of Commerce and the Cincinnati Regional Business Committee. And we have a lot of capital projects on the drawing board, expansion of the convention center, a new convention hotel, a four-star hotel. I'd like to see us renovate our arena or build a new arena so that we can have large events associated with the arena. Ultimately, for the World Cup will be played at Paul Brown Stadium. We have a good partnership with the Bengals, and certainly hoping that we'll have the opportunity to improve Paul Brown Stadium, modernize Paul Brown Stadium for the World Cup.
I think this is a fun one. We have a question in here that says, what is your most gifted book or books you highly recommend?
Well, I mentioned Malcolm Gladwell's The Tipping Point. It's funny you ask. I literally just on Facebook, David Pepper's a friend of mine and the state Democratic Party chair, former city council member and county commissioner. And he challenged me for 10 books, 10 every day a book. I ended up doing 2 books for the first 9 days and then did like 8. So if you check me out on Facebook, I think you should be able to see all the books. I read a lot of history, political history, campaigns, biographies, dating back to revolutionary, the frontier times in our country's founding, all the way up through current. So I will say Gladwell and some of the Freakonomics books, they're just interesting because they're thought provocative in terms of thinking of the world in different ways.
I will definitely be checking those out myself. The next question is, what criteria is important in a mentor and a mentee? And as high school and college students, how do you recommend finding a mentor?
Well, it certainly starts with your teachers. And if you're involved, whether it be in sports or extracurriculars, the advisors for those. Establish genuine relationships, right? Don't have it be completely transactional. We all understand that there's a transactional element to it, but have a genuine interest in people, right? And in their success and their lives. I offer that life is challenging. It's certainly a lot more challenging in this moment. And I feel for all of you who are starting out your careers in a pandemic. It's unthinkable. My daughter graduated from Miami this year. She had a virtual graduation. It's not how she thought her senior year would go. So I feel for you. But just remember that your advisors and your coaches, they have challenges too. And so take a genuine interest in how they're doing. And share a little bit how you're doing, right? And not just talk about the assignment or the project or the help you need, but try to establish a more human connection. You'll stand apart that way because so much of these times tend to be more transactional. And if you stand out with a little more authenticity, a little more genuine interest in people, you will stand out. The other thing is, try to over deliver. I tell our staff that when we're interviewing, we want to look for 3 things. Number 1, can I trust them? Because we're not with you at all times. So I have to trust you're going to use good judgment, right? Trust that you'll ask questions if you don't know the answer. You're not going to just wing it, okay? And so establishing trust. Number 2, do you want to be great? Everyone would say average is easier, right? Putting in an average day's effort is easier than putting in a great, exceptional effort. Are you one of the people that has high standards? You communicate your standards by how you dress, how you speak. Are you on time? Again, do you work late? Are you the first to leave? It's 5 o'clock, I'm out of here. That's a balancing act. No one's saying that you shouldn't have your own life and your own outside of work interest. Of course you should. It's a balancing act. But you want to show that you have high standards, that you want to be great. And then the last thing is, I say, when we interview someone, I understand that you're a corporation of one. I believe that. You're going to look out for your interest, and you should, because if you don't, maybe no one else will. So you're going to assert your interests. Ask for a raise, ask for a promotion, make it clear what your ambition is. I expect that from you. You'll never put me off by asserting your interests. The question is, do you also have an interest in our organization? Because if it's all about you, I don't want you to work for me. There's other places you can go work. So for us, when we hire people, we call this the project. To build a championship Major League Soccer franchise for Cincinnati. It's a project. It's a long-term project. It's a legacy, right? People have worked here and they don't work here anymore because their ambition or our ambition went separate ways. But they'll always be able to say, I was there when we created FC Cincinnati. I was one of the builders of FC Cincinnati. Drive by the stadium. I was one of the people that built the stadium. If that doesn't get you motivated, then I don't want you to work for us. You're not the right person. And so whether you're working for Procter & Gamble or for a small company or anywhere in between, do you care about the company? When you show up, do you know anything about the company? Do you know what their goals are? Do you know what their challenges are? Can you speak to them? Can you ask questions about them? That shows some interest in the company's success, and that can set you apart. So if you take that approach, number one, you're more likely to win opportunity, and then have the next step of having mentors or people who will help coach you and look out for your interests. I promise you, as a kid from Westwood, one of only 2 to graduate from college, if it weren't for mentors, they wouldn't have pushed me to St. X High School. The mentors at St. X wouldn't have pushed me to college. College advisors wouldn't have pushed me into leadership positions. I wasn't a leader at St. X. I found my leadership voice at Miami University. From there into professional life, mentors at each step of the way saw something in me and pushed me to be something maybe bigger than I knew I had in me. And that's led to creating FC Cincinnati. So I hope I can be an example with the challenge that I said. I acknowledge that as someone, my mentors were mostly white men. And so let's not just have white guys being mentors to white guys. Let's make sure we're inclusive, because we do need inclusive capitalism. We need inclusive opportunities. We need to embrace diversity. That is the future of the world. And we need to make sure if you're going to be a successful organization, you better live by those values.
Going off the topic of building these relationships with mentors or just people, there's a question asking, how do you continue to build emotional connections with fans during COVID?
Well, it's been hard, but one of the reasons we didn't furlough staff is because we wanted to stay relevant. If you remember the very first slide, number 5 ingredient was build a relevant sports brand. And I didn't want to see FC Cincinnati become irrelevant during this period. So we kept all the staff involved. We had, just within our own group, trivia every single day, trivia contests. We had workouts that we were doing and competitions. We were having daily Zooms in departments and weekly Zooms. Number one, just to keep the staff engaged, because we needed the staff to then be leaning externally into the community. So for instance, we were volunteering, raising money and serving food to the kids in the West End who were missing meals because they weren't getting their school meals. We were doing some other activities in the community where we were doing Zooms in senior citizen homes and group living centers in order to, try to provide company for people. We were doing all kinds of social media. Our players were leading workouts where you could come in and do the workout with our players. We were doing skills with some of our players for youth players and coaching with youth players. And then, of course, frequent interviews where we're talking to players about how they're going through it, and having our players acknowledge the uncertainty and the fear so that you knew it was okay. If FC Cincinnati players are afraid and feel real uncertainty, it's okay for me and my family to feel that uncertainty. I'm not saying that we did it perfectly, but we certainly made it a priority to do the best we could to be highly engaged during those times to stay relevant.
It looks like we're running low on time here. If you want to go into the Q&A tool and maybe pick one more question that you feel you can answer, there are a few in here.
All right. I'll see if I can do a couple of these real quick. With the loan signing of Jurgen, Lacadia, and Siem de Jong, do you hope to recruit other established players from other European leagues? Answer, yes. And we're working on that right now. How did you overcome some of the inevitable challenges that arrive with such achieving a big vision? Just through hard work. That's the one thing I want to say is as everyone's working in the startup competition, the pitch competition, it never ends. I want to say, maybe this is bad news. It never ends unless you sell it. And so it is 24/7 churning, and it takes a level of perseverance and grittiness to overcome the challenges. And then you just hope that you have great owners and a great staff around you. As the leader of this, I don't have to have all the answers. I try to set the vision and make sure we hire excellent people in departments and throughout the organization to overcome the challenges. The other one I see, how do you sustain a level of growth and success, especially when it comes to sports and it's tied to winning? You know, in the minor leagues, we outspent everyone, and that was candidly our plan. Our owners invested in the first year where we outspent everyone. We were a winning team because we said we're going to be winning, and we knew that winning, because people were hungry for pro sports success in this town, would bring crowds. Crowds would bring money. Money would bring better players. Now it's a little bit harder. We're at the highest level. We have a salary cap. We're playing at Nippert, not in the new stadium. We hope that people would be patient with us. They were last year, and we'll be better. We are better this year, and we'll be certainly better next year. But there's no question. You have to build the foundation, and we feel we're building the foundation with the stadium, where the stadium will give us plenty of money to invest in good players. And we believe in our soccer ecosystem with our GM from the Netherlands, that we're picking good players, good data, good scouting, good character in order to achieve success.
Thanks, Jeff. I think I'm going to wrap us up here. Looks like we're coming close to time. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you so much, Jeff, for sharing your insights with us today. The recorded version of this session will be available later today. Oh, actually, no, in a few days. My apologies. Students, we would love to hear your feedback. Please fill out the quick survey that pops up once you leave the meeting. It only takes less than a minute, and we love hearing your feedback. Join us tomorrow for our next webinar, Creativity Fast, Accelerating Artistic Entrepreneurs. Thank you again, Jeff. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you all. Good luck to you. Bye-bye.